So should we prepare for World War III? Now, that's a bold statement. But we're going to talk about what a senator said about what he thinks World War III would look like. He said it's not what NATO is saying. He said it's actually something totally different. He said, I believe it's going to be fought here on U.S. soil. We're going to discuss what he said because I don't believe he's wrong. Now, that goes on the same time that we hear World War III rumblings from NATO. NATO, we need to get out of NATO, by the way. But you're not going to believe what the NATO chief just stated. Yesterday, stated that we will face, our daughters, granddaughters, our sons, and our grandsons will face World War III with Russia. And they're wanting everyone to get ready. Canada is already starting to mobilize. You're starting to see all the European countries put back in the draft and put back in conscription. What is going on? Now, we have too many battles here at home, so I believe we should just get out of NATO, period, because just what this senator said, I believe our war will be here. And I don't believe any country is going to come to our defense like we always seem to be the ones to come to theirs. We're going to discuss all that. Also, we're going to discuss Edward Snowden, what he stated about a warning he gave. It goes along with what a Trump announcement just happened with AI, with 5G yesterday. Edward Snowden just kind of says, look, what we're doing is we're becoming the Chinese system. And to be honest with you, it's going to be to our detriment. You better be careful. This goes along with what a representative said that, we're not doing anything in Congress that's actually worth anything. We're not actually passing bills. We're not helping the Trump administration any. And if we don't start doing it, then what we're going to do is we're just going to sit here like sheep going to the slaughter. Wait till you hear what he said about CBDCs. Wait till you hear what was said about how many things we haven't done. And you wonder, why do they call themselves Republican or Trump supporters when they're not doing any of it? So much to talk about today. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up. It means the world to us, and we are humbled each and every day that you come back and watch our content. Thank you so much. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about the situation with NATO, and then we're going to talk about what's home and what's important about what this Senator Tuberville just said about he believes World War III will be fought here in the U.S. Now let's talk about what NATO said first, and then we'll move on to the senator. NATO chief says we need to prepare for war with Russia. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said we must be ready to scale on a full insurgence of war. Parents, grandparents that they endured, the kind of wars that they endured, World War I, World War II, the most dangerous of wars, we need to be ready for that. Now, if you look at NATO's budget, about 50% of it comes from America. So they would shut their mouth and quit doing anything if we would just hold our ground and grab a backbone and say, we're not going to fund you anymore, and we'll help out your nations by selling you things, but we're not just going to give money for y'all to go to war. Germany, Canada, France, and several other European countries are all signing up for conscriptions, drafts, and making sure their people are ready for war. They're gearing up. They've actually told people to get supplies just in case we end up in a war. Now, why would they say that? Why would they say grab food, grab waters, grab 3 to 5 days worth of supplies? Because you never know, it may be hard to get during a time of war. What do they know that we don't know? And then what are we doing as Americans to say that we support this or not? I'm sick of talking about Ukraine. I'm sick of talking about Russia. I'm sick of talking about NATO. I'm sick of talking about the Middle East. I'm actually sick of talking about just about every other country you can name and put in that blank. Do I support Israel? Yes. Do I support our allies and I want them to make sure they're safe? Yes. But to be honest with you, I'm tired of fighting their battles. And I think we need to focus on what's going on back at home, because I think that's our biggest problem. I want to read a few statistics of what's happening here and then what Senator Tuberville just said, because it goes along with the risk that we're facing. And he said World War III will be fought here. I want you to listen to what Joe Kent said. Joe Kent serves as an intelligence officer kind of under Tulsi Gabbard and just was interviewed in Congress. And they brought him before the Congress. Congress is worthless. They don't do anything. But they do bring a lot of people up for hearings. But he says this. He says, NCTC Director Joe Kent reveals jaw-dropping amounts of terrorism in America. He said, we have allowed for terrorists to be here. He said 18,000 known and suspected terrorists have been brought in through the Biden administration, and they are in our country to this day. Now, you realize when we try to deport them, the socialist judges, the little district judges, appointed judges by Obama or Biden, stops Trump from taking these people out of here. So that shows that the Democrats or the left or whoever has this ideology is wanting to destroy our country. I love this quote. Someone said, I wish Republicans would fight as hard to love and support and make this country better as the Democrats do work hard and together to destroy the country. So we can't deport any of them. Why? Why could we not deport terrorists? Well, because there's some socialist judge that Biden appointed that won't allow it to happen. You ask me why these Congress, like the Speaker of the House and the Senator, you do realize the majority Senate leader and the Congress, the House Speaker, Johnson, they could impeach all these judges that are stopping terrorists from leaving America, and yet they have brought none up for charges for impeachment. We've had impeachment charges against RFK, Trump, and J.D. Vance, and I think a few more in this administration already, by the Democrats. And Republicans who are over the House can't even bring impeachment charges against these judges. Weak Congress. Now let's go to, before we go into more Congress stories, let's listen to what Tommy Tuberville said, because again, you don't have to like him. I mean, I think senators are all corrupt, but I do love what he said here, because I think he has, again, he was a famous person, was a coach, was successful before he became a senator. So again, I kind of like some of those people that are self-made before they become on the taxpayer's dime, but here you go. I want you to listen. It says, World War III will be on our soil, and it will be with Muslims and terror. Tuberville warned, within 5 to 10 years, it will be out of control. Europe is already gone. Did you know that Tony Blair, who is supposedly a conservative in England, I don't know if you can call him a conservative in the UK, but he's saying after Keir Starmer gets out, he believes there's a Muslim leader, a Muslim female, that he wants to make sure that goes in. He basically endorsed this Muslim leader to be the leader of UK. UK has fallen. And now, you have to understand, I honestly believe Europe will be an adversary before long with America. That's why you got to get out of NATO, period, because I believe all these countries in the European Union, I believe we need to develop new relationships with people like Hungary and El Salvador and, all these places that are different. Let's look in our hemisphere at El Salvador and places like that, but then let's look at Eastern Europe, like Hungary, that has a good relationship. But all these other countries that are hating on Trump, like France and Great Britain, it's like, why do we care? I mean, you're infiltrated already. Why do we want to try to help you and give our money to you instead of actually keeping it for American people? So what Tommy Tuberville was saying, he was saying, look, we need to quit worrying about the battles over there. What we're doing is we're allowing for that same infiltration to take place here. Joe Kent just made it. 18,000 terrorists have already brought here. That's not counting the 12 million people that's here legally that we don't know how many of those are bad. If you remember the Azerbaijan guy from just a few years ago, I did a video on it. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and he said he crossed over the border and he was interviewed and he said, "You will know my name. You will know who I am." Isn't it amazing how we can say Bin Laden and we know who that is? We can say, Al-Zakari and we know who that is. We can say Bin Salman. We can say all these names and we know who they are, huh? We can say the Charlie Kirk person that did the shooting. We can say the one that did the Trump shooting. We can say all these names and you start knowing them. So how do we know them? Because of the terror that they caused. And this guy says, "You're going to know my name." And he crossed over the border legally. And Biden let him in. So what Tommy Tuberville is saying, the senator is saying, I believe it's spot on. Our problem is not what's happening in the Middle East. Our problem is not what's happening in Eastern Europe. Our problem is not what's happening with our quote-unquote friends who really don't like us. Our problem is back at home. I wanted to try it just to say, is when, our phone's listening to us, the information that we put on there, how dangerous is it for us? Are we actually compromised? So I said, you know what, I'm going to go to Google, and I'm just going to Google one of my sister's names. So I typed in her name. All of a sudden, I started realizing my oldest sister's old address from 4 years ago was on there. Our home phone number was listed on there from when I was a kid. Not only that, It gave emails. It gave all this information. So I called her and I said, do you realize I can get all this information, probably take out a few credit cards, open new accounts? It blew her mind. I want you to try this too. I want you to go and just Google one of your family members' names. Not to be a creeper or anything, but I want you to just test my theory. Go out there and just Google. It will blow your mind at what you can find out about your family members. The sad thing about when you search, a lot of this information, a lot of these websites, a lot of the places that you go are ran by data brokers. They're getting your information, and guess what? They're sharing it with people who are not the most reputable, maybe even on the dark web. From scammers to spammers, none of these people are actually looking out for your well-being and your information. Now, here's the thing. They're not legally able to have your information if you tell them to take your information off. But I'll be honest with you. If you start looking online and you realize how many people have your information, it's almost impossible for you to go to all these companies and say, please, take my information off your sites. See, that's the benefit of my sponsor today, Aura. Aura comes alongside you. They work to do just that, to take your information away from being vulnerable, away from being compromised, from the people that want to scam you and spam you all the time. Aura identifies all the data brokers that are getting your information, and they give an opt-out clause, meaning they cannot legally have your information anymore. It's kind of like having a house and having doors and having locks and never locking the door. Aura allows you to lock the door. Give Aura just a few weeks. I promise you what you're going to see is your information is going to start being yours again. You're going to realize the spammers and scammers are going to stop. Aura also continuously monitors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're going to make sure they let you know if it is. Also, they have a world-class VPN to keep you safe as you search the internet. Do not miss out on this opportunity to utilize Aura to benefit you and your family's safety online. Remember, let's lock the door. You can go to my link below, aura.com/themacs. It's in the description. When you click on that, you're getting a 14-day free trial. In that 14 days, you're going to realize all the benefits of what they're doing. They're going to opt your information out from being vulnerable and compromised. Check out Aura today, aura.com/themacs. Do not miss out on this opportunity to have this free trial along with your safety. I'll read this number to you that scares you because it shows our focus is not at home like it should be. And this is not a Trump thing. This is a stupidity thing on America's part, really for the last 100 years. But listen to this. This is from a guy named C3. It says, you want to make your blood boil? There are 193 recognized countries in the world. 193 countries across the globe. This is unbelievable. You can't buy eggs and milk in the store. You can't buy a car. You're delinquent on all your notes, and you're worried about paying property tax. Can't buy Christmas. Tough times. 193 recognized countries in the world. Your tax dollars goes to 177 of them. 91.7% of the world is on government assistance of American government for countries. They get money from our government. That's not Congress's money to give away, but they're the ones that give it away. Congress is the one that appropriates all that. So it shows the kickbacks are just astronomical. That's why these people are millionaires and ultra-millionaires. Americans are being screwed by their own quote-unquote representation. 91.7% of the world is funded by the American taxpayer. Does that not just blow your mind? I want to say that one more time. 177 countries out of 193 that are recognized countries across this earth gets taxpayer dollars because the Congress allocates it. Now, I don't know about you. I don't get money from the Congress. They just take my money, and if they get a tax return, that's not them giving my money back. That's not their money to give. It's my money, and they give only a piece of it back. So I'm the one paying taxes to make everybody else's life better while my life is getting harder because of all the costs that the Congress has pretty much made us have. Douglas MacArthur made this comment about money and about the dangers of what we're doing in Congress and what we're spending our money on. Listen to what he states. He said, every 3 months, our national debt grows $1 trillion. I want you to listen to this, just to put that in retrospect. Every 3 months, every quarter of the year, so that means 4 quarters of the year, we go into $4 trillion worth of debt every year. That's your Congress now, and that is your spending habits of your bureaucracy. He said if we spent $1 million a day since Jesus Christ was born, since our Savior was born, we would not even equal $1 trillion. So 2,000 years ago, when our Savior was born, if we would have spent $1 million a day, it would not equal to really about 1 trillion is what he stated. And we're 40 trillion in debt. It's never able to be paid back. We're being robbed by our own government. Now, that brings us up to the other point. Now, do I believe we'll see infiltration? Do I believe we're already seeing infiltration? Do I believe we're going to see Muslims rule in America? Do I already see that cities are falling to Muslims? Yes, I see all that. I want you to listen to what Edward Snowden said, because this goes back to the whole money situation. Edward Snowden warns that the infrastructure of the Chinese-style social credit system is being built right here in plain sight. He says, all we're going to do is make all your activities online, along with AI capabilities, and along with all your data, your algorithms, you're going to be completely controlled and completely surveilled. Money will be a part of that. So let's go back to what Douglas MacArthur said. If we're in the hole $1 trillion every quarter, and we have no way of paying it back, we're then giving money. Remember, the Republican Congress just gave another $900 million to Ukraine yesterday, gave another $700 million to Israel yesterday, gave another like $500 million to other places all over the world. We're giving 91.7% to all these other countries. All the countries in the world are getting money. 91% of the countries in the world around the globe is getting our money. And yet, we're wondering why we don't have any. Well, because we give it away. What did I tell you? I love giving. I love this time of year. I love Christmas. I love Christmas. I love giving to people. I love making food for them. I love buying them things. I love it. I love to give this time of year. But say, for instance, I didn't have any money, and I said, well, I love giving Christmas away. I love helping them out. And I said, well, my kids, I'm not going to do anything for you this year. You just deal with it. I'm going to go in debt and go buy everybody else's Christmas. Well, those other people will be very happy with you. It looks good, doesn't it? They're happy. They're so glad that you gave them Christmas. But now you're going to get bankrupt because you went in debt for it. Now your children may kind of have they may be mad at you because you didn't get them something, but you got someone else's family something. And it showed that it's not about gifts showing love, but it's like, Dad, why didn't you get me anything? And now we can't even eat because we have no money to be able to pay because you just borrowed all the money to give to your neighbor. See, there's some resentment that's going to probably be on our children, or with our spouse especially, because we're choosing to take stuff that we need and give it to someone else. Now, if you have an abundance or you want to help other families, absolutely. This time of year, I love doing it. But we have to make sure we take care of our family first. Wouldn't you agree? So why in America are we not helping Americans? I don't want stimulus. I just want you to quit taking my taxes. I just want to quit paying overages. I want to go to a 10% flat tax or less. I believe that we should not have a property tax. If our government can't make it on that, screw it. We need to get rid of them and fire everybody until we have a balanced budget. It makes perfect sense. Because you couldn't do that in your home. You couldn't blow your budget every month and hope that somebody's just going to come rescue you, could you? No, you'd be broke living in a box on the street. So why do we allow our government to do it and then charge us more taxes when they want more? It's just unbelievable. So what Edward Snowden's warning of is saying, basically, we're destroying our own money. We're destroying our own safety because we want convenience. We want AI. We want all this technology. And what we're doing is putting ourselves in a social credit score, just like we, quote unquote, voted against with Trump. And we're becoming China. We're becoming the WEF. We're becoming the global push, where we'll be fully surveilled. Again, that's coming from someone who did it and was a whistleblower proving it was getting done already. And now we're, 12, 15, 20 years past the Edward Snowden situation, and we're still seeing how AI has even made it even more capable of making you a perfect algorithm. Let's talk about 2 more things dealing with this. I mean, it goes along with it. Neuralink has now passed its new capabilities of being where you're almost a superhuman, where you're not just looking at someone, you're reading and telling exactly who they are. It's going behind human vision. Elon says Neuralink will then look at being more than just eyesight. It gives you a superhuman capability. So if Neuralink does that, think of the technology of people who are evil and what capabilities they already have, when all of a sudden this capability is coming to where we're basically spying on you. Simple as that. Listen to what Trump did yesterday with this. I didn't like this. Again, I'm fully against it, but let's talk about what Trump did. Trump just allowed the cat out of the bag when he said that he is allowing cellular signals and data from 5G to 6G to come online. Now 5G, there's a lot of things that's kind of dangerous about that wireless capability, and if you know anything about it, it's probably caused some health problems, but that's a different story. But I want you to listen to this. 6G can be used as 3D spatial penetrative surveillance that can literally see through the skin. It can see through the walls. It basically makes it where you're fully viewed. 6G is a biodigital convergence. This is from a guy named 7Cs. It says, these cells are basically hacking into us at all time. They're hijacking every bit of our energy in our bodies. It says real-time integration with smart cities, data recording, blockchains, all this stuff, the CBDCs, everything will be pretty much to where it's all on the internet servers and you're just one big algorithm. It says 6G will allow that to be even more controlled because they will know not only seeing you, they will know everything about you. You remember I was talking about the smartwatches yesterday with WEF and what he said about the wearables and how we're going to know how you feel. So we not only do we know what you're portraying on your face, we can know if you're falsifying that, and then you can get in trouble for it. It's crazy. Now I'll go to one more story. J.P. Morgan leader, J.P. Morgan Chase, came out and he stated, I was fully against Bitcoin. It's Jamie Dimon. I was fully against Bitcoin. I was fully against crypto. I was fully against blockchain. And then I realized how important it will be in the future. Now, it's amazing how all these banks, Wells Fargo just did it, JP Morgan Chase, of course, BlackRock, some of the bigger asset managers, a lot of big banks are starting to understand that tokenization and crypto is the next phase of what they need to jump into. Why? Why do you think they're all of a sudden embracing it? Because there's a control element to it. Do you realize you basically never own your money on a crypto? You never own your money when it comes to Bitcoin. You never own your money because it's always on some kind of digitized wallet or platform. It's never tangibly in your hand. You basically have a subscription to your money. You rent your money. I want to read this comment to you because it goes along with what the banks are doing. This is from Representative Keith Self. It says, CBDCs are already being built in secret right under our noses. And they're finally putting the final nail in the coffin of financial freedom. I want you to listen to this. It says, Project Hamilton, a cooperative effort between the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston and MIT, created an open source code that processes 1.8 million transactions fast enough to track every dollar you spend in real time. They conclude the project never stopped. MIT and other Fed banks are still actively using this. And the Bureau, the BIS, the Bureau of Industry and Security, which is the one who's over all our money, is one of the biggest players in the world when it comes to financials across the world and the globe. This is a programmable style money that's giving surveillance, expiration dates to your money, what did I tell you about renting your money, social credits, but not only that, is pure social control. When you see banks, you see the asset managers, the global agenda pushers like BlackRock. You see China's already bought into it and there's people living on the street because they were not doing the social credit score thing. You wonder why big banks are jumping into it and the Fed's jumping into it, and you wonder why in the world do we see the Trump administration embracing this thing? If we really want freedom, freedom is this. Get our money back from overseas. Take Congress and Senate and fire them. And if they cannot balance a budget, like Warren Buffett said, if they cannot balance a budget within a 2 or 3% margin, then we need to fire them. There needs to be a clause wrote into the government. They're ruining America right before our very eyes. And just like Tommy Tuberville said, when they can destroy the dollar, when they can cause upheaval, when our focus is on overseas, we've slowly allowed everybody to infiltrate our country, and they have one goal. And I've shared you tons of quotes and tons of videos on it dealing with infiltration in our country on U.S. soil. Their one goal is to take us over. If we send all our troops to go fight other people's battle, then we leave ourselves vulnerable. I've told this to my son, and my youngest son's not old enough yet, but our goal is to defend our home and our farm. That's our goal. Our goal is to defend our land. Our goal is to take care of our family. That's why we're building homes on our property for our children. We want generations here. We want legacy here. We want to protect what we have. If I told my son, look, let's go defend someone else's home because there's been theft in the neighborhoods. We're going to go and sit out their homes, stake their home out, put cameras up to guard their homes. Then we leave ours unattended. What happens? Leaves us vulnerable, doesn't it? Leaves us vulnerable. I believe that's what we're doing on all these stories today. What Edward Snowden shared, what Douglas MacArthur shared, what Joe Kent shared, and what's happening with the Trump administration and Congress. We're allowing for ourselves to be too vulnerable. And we're going to look up and we're going to have a mass chaos event that's going to lead to World War III in the U.S. War on the U.S. soil is coming. And if we're not careful, it's already here. It just hadn't been activated yet. It's time to quit playing games. Your Congress and Senate is the problem. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.